And Russell, I think you're kicking us off with welcomes.
Okay, sorry. I was thinking Will was starting. Sorry. I apologize for that. So, welcome everyone to the safety management section of the training. So, glad you're all here today. Um, we'll introduce ourselves, and I think we know everybody on here, but give everybody else a chance to kind of introduce who they are as well. So, I'm Russell Bagley. I am the Environmental Health and Safety Manager for Novant Health. I've been with Novant Health in environmental health and safety for 20 years. Um, Prior to that, I worked in manufacturing, environmental health and safety for approximately 5 years, and then also worked short stints in pharmaceutical as a microbiologist, and also at a food manufacturing or food processing, food industry location in their quality department. So it kind of inherited EH&S at that point. It's where my introduction was environmental health and safety, smaller industry. So it kind of had to kind of divide up responsibilities and roles. So I started out in that doing power industrial truck safety and some other uh, occupational safety kind of programs there. So it kind of got my interest in the environmental health and safety from that job. That was straight out of college. I graduated from University of North Carolina at Charlotte in 1997 with a bachelor's degree in biology. Um, Professional certifications that I hold are the CHSP, Certified Healthcare Safety Professional, and the CHFSP, which is Certified Healthcare Fire Safety Professional, and the CEAS, which is Certified Ergonomic Assessment Specialist. So glad to be here with you all today and go through the safety management presentation. I'll turn it over to Laura.
Hey again. I introduced myself this morning in our class this morning, but I would like to say um, I'm glad to be back. I hope y'all are as well. I think you're going to enjoy this class, and it is definitely a lot of information, but hope y'all enjoy it.
All right, now I guess I'm the caboose, per usual, with an S last name, but I'm Will Spate. I think I know most of you all, and it's nice to meet those that I haven't worked closely with in the past. Um, so I am an environmental health and safety specialist. I'm based in the Winston market, but our roles kind of cross lines into various different markets as needed, particularly around survey response, and that's a large component both proactively through mock survey, and then reactively in an actual survey response whenever a variety of different outside agencies show up, whether that be OSHA or EPA or the state, in some instances, if there's a physical environment component. And then I also kind of support rehab as a service line from a regulatory perspective, and emergency management. Um, I've been with Novant since 2016. I came in September. So coming up on 9 years this year. Kind of hard to believe. It feels like I guess maybe blacked out a few years during COVID, which most of us probably did. Um, and maybe that's where some of the time went. But prior to that, my background is in operations, and also I have a degree from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I graduated in 2008. As you will recall, it was kind of a precarious time economically, and so the job market was a little sketchy, and I kind of did what I had to do, spent some time working in youth at the YMCA. Worked in every department there except for the one that I actually have my degree in, which is exercise science. So I guess irony is in play there. But I spent about 7 years there, and working in the nonprofit world, you kind of wear many hats and do many things and got a lot of experience. And I think that kind of set a foundation for enjoying working with people, and enjoying kind of building relationships and trying to foster that through the work that I do. I had a brief stint as an operations manager after leaving the Y, through a facility service company, which was very interesting, and gave me I think an extra appreciation for the amount of chaos that can be associated with having large teams and a large footprint that you manage. But I've really enjoyed my time and working with many of you on this class in our day-to-day here at Novant Health, and looking forward to today. So I'm going to kick us off, and I think most of the classes, if you've been in these before, have kind of had a component where we go into Novant Health Document Manager, and that's kind of our database, a source of truth. A lot of times we have policies and procedures and things that we reference from time to time or are requested from surveyors. It's important to kind of know how to navigate though through Document Manager to be able to find the policy that exists there in its current state. They obviously all have a review cycle. For the one that we're going to go through now, and I believe, Lindsay, correct me if I'm wrong, share my screen, but we're going to go through and just as a group, ask everybody to kind of join along and go into your intranet site, and we will go to Document Manager, and we're going to pull up the safety management plan. So I kind of cheated a little bit and went ahead and opened it, but that's the home screen. Obviously over here, policies. You all know this, but just for the sake of kicking us off formally here, I'll go through. So search for safety management plan. The one here, obviously, there's several of them that you'll find in Document Manager now, particularly as we've grown as an organization and added and onboarded new facilities or systems. There's a few different versions. The corporate safety management plan, though, has NHECSA 1000. So if you open that up and look that in the applies to section, it's always important just to make sure you're in the right spot, that you have all the correct facilities that you're looking for applying to the document that you're reading. This document here is kind of it's similar to the life safety management plan, similar to all the other disciplines. Really outlines philosophically and as a scope and practice what we do as a system around the topic of safety. It is intended to be safety focused for not just patients, which is kind of a lot of where the focus in healthcare goes, but also around visitors that are in our facilities while they're here to see a patient, and also our team members who have to show up to work every day, obviously with the objective being that we send them home at the end of the day, hopefully the same way that they arrived. We'll go through several sections of this document today as part of the presentation, just kind of going into more detail about what each one of these different sections means for you as a participant, be it plant engineering, but also just from a team member at Novant Health. Every single individual at our company has a responsibility to make sure that the environment that we're working is safe and escalate as appropriate any conditions that could result in harm to anybody that's in our facilities. So recently we combined several different policies into our safety management plan. And as I mentioned, we'll go through that, but authority and accountability, we have processes by which the facility leadership can designate individuals who have authority to intervene if there's a safety hazard. It outlines what that process looks like, how we document that at Novant Health. And then it outlines basically who is responsible for having oversight of that safety management plan and tracking of various different inputs of data, injury analysis, and we accomplish that through committees the same way that we do for the other management plans. And then it outlines the roles and responsibilities. Like I said, we'll go through that in a bit, but at each individual level who has responsibility for various different things and what their roles look like to accomplish safety in our environment. And then again, just outline some of the objectives and how we accomplish those through injury review, setting process improvements using SMART goals, and then taking and implementing those and measuring those to determine whether or not we're able to accomplish what we set out to accomplish to improve team member safety. And so with that, I will, I believe, stop sharing and let Lindsay take it back. And we are going to start off this afternoon with a with a group exercise, and I wanted to kind of set the stage a little bit. So part of what our environmental health and safety department does is we partner with several other departments, and we receive injury data from them each month, and it's kind of a lagging indicator for those that were on the call early, and Lindsay was asking about whether or not we had slip, trip, falls. We do get kind of a month's worth of data in review. So for the month of December, we got that report this month, a couple days ago. And so we will aggregate that, and we provide quarterly injury reports to each of the acute care facilities that it tracks and trends different rates for the top 5 injuries primarily, but it is comprehensive and has each of the injuries that occur at that facility in a given month. And so the next slide just kind of provides you a little bit of a overview of what the detail tab looks like. So the detail tab is really the meat of where the specific injuries, what department they were in, what the injury category it was coded to is, the home department, when they were hired. So that's another opportunity to kind of see if we're seeing newer hires contributing to certain injuries at a higher rate. And then also department type. So there's obviously various different disciplines in our hospitals, service lines, different levels of acuity of patient care that people receive, but we kind of aggregate and bundle med surg into one category. So that could be critical care, that could be general med surg. We also have obviously behavioral health as a service line that exists in some of our facilities, but not all, but will be part of the data set that we look today. We do have an ED at the majority of our acute care facilities, and so that's one of the department types that we will monitor, as well as surgical services. The rest kind of bundle into an other category for totals, but you'll see that it can still be looked at for plant engineering to see if there's a trend in that department type, as well as pharmacy and some of the others that exist as support services. So what we will do, this is just a picture of the Presbyterian Medical Center data. We're going to be looking at, as the group activity today, we're going to be looking at Forsyth Medical Center's quarterly injury report for 2024. So it'll be the full year, actually up through Q3, because we had just gotten December, and we'll spend the next couple months getting the full year closed out. But we'll have 9 months worth of data to look at. And we're going to go through that part, as well as a proactive safety hazard assessment, which is a correlated document that takes some of those inputs from our injury data, as well as other mitigations that are in place and impact. So how significant is it? Even though we may have a bunch of these injuries, some of them have a more significant impact for productivity and harm than others. And so how can we look at that and prioritize what our process improvements may be?
All right. So thank you, Will. I'm getting your room set up now.
Okay.
If you guys can go to your email, just sent a little bit earlier, you will find homework assignment 1. And you are going to use that to complete this assignment. So I've got each instructor broken out into their own groups, so they'll help you facilitate this. You will use that homework assignment number 1 for the next 2 activities, but what you'll want to start with is that injury report that says homework 1 next to it. I'm going to go ahead and open up all the rooms now. I'm going to give you 10 minutes to complete this exercise. If you finish early, by all means, come back to the main room early. I don't want to make you have to wait longer than you have to. But otherwise, I'll just bring everyone back in 10 minutes. How did it go?
Okay, they're a quiet bunch.
Okay.
But they know what the task is and what to look for and how to read the charts. So
Good. I wanted to make sure that Matt Kimler was with you this morning, but maybe put him with someone else this afternoon just to see what it's like in the other places.
that's fine because I used his facility this morning.
Oh, good.
And our life safety assessment, they actually, Cape Fear had been broken down and was easier to kind of pick out the stuff.
Yeah.
And it was summarized, so it made it a little easier and it went a little quicker that way than reading the whole report. So
Okay, good.
Yeah, we didn't get through much of it. I mean,
Okay.
I was kind of going over what the injury report was and the different tabs that was in it and stuff. So, and we started a couple questions, but we didn't get through the whole thing.
Would you like more time to complete the exercise?
I'm sure they would. I'd be glad. I told them I'd be glad to work with them afterward if we needed to move forward. So,
Can I get a motion from the group about needing more?
So, we did the first, were we supposed to do the injury report and the safety assessment or just the one?
Just injury report?
Okay.
The safety assessment you will see on another spreadsheet, a document.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, we were mid-conversation, but yeah, we got finished with the first part.
Okay. Is there another group who would appreciate having more time now versus after class?
I'm gonna leave it up to them. I mean,
I'm okay. I mean, I get the gist of it, but
If you got Sean in your group, then you can just talk forever.
I think if we're just supposed to do that top portion, then we got close to finished. I think we can figure out the last two questions.
I think we'll be good too.
Cool. Okay. I'll advance it to the next one. So I know we're going to go through Forsyth's Medical Center. Either Will or Russell, do you want to? I know that it's like all in one big workbook, Excel workbook, and Forsyth Medical Center is just one of those tabs. Do you want to maybe show them like Presbyterian, or do we just want to like jump in and look at Forsyth?
what do you think, Will? I mean, an overview for the whole group might be good before we break out, right? And that way we won't have to do it individually.
I
Yeah,
agree.
All right, let's do that. So who would like to be my presenter?
Will, you want to do it or I can do it either one? I'm fine.
Yeah, go ahead, Russell.
Okay. So you're going to display it on the screen or you want me to pull it up?
If you don't mind pulling it up, I mean, I can go and get it. I just don't have it.
I got it.
Okay, you got it, Will. Thanks.
Can you
Okay.
see me?
Yeah, I can see it. Can everybody else see? Everybody else can see the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a proactive safety hazard assessment tool that we use in Novant legacy facilities, and New Hanover and Pender use a different style assessment tool. We're working together to consolidate that and kind of standardize into one. But this is what you'll have at most Novant facilities at this point in time. It's based off a Kaiser Permanente model for HVA. It lists on the left-hand side the hazards that could be in our facilities, and we try to make sure that we capture ones that are pertinent to healthcare. And then there's a scoring tab on here as well that goes over how you would score and rank probability, injury, productivity, preparedness, and then response. And those you assign a number, 0 through 5, I think, or 4 for most of them. Some of them are 1 through 3, sorry. So again, the legend here shows how you would score it, how you would determine what numerical score you got for that injury. And then that is used to calculate a percent score for that risk of that hazard at that facility. So most of our facilities, our hospital facilities, are the same. So most of them are very similar in their risk for each one of these injury types. But this kind of just shows it's just a objective way of trying to score your hazards versus just guessing. Again, some of this it's not a complete science, so there is some subjectivity in it, but it's not as just subjective as just throwing out a score what you think. So using the risk scores or the scores for each section calculates a percent total relative risk in that far right-hand yellow column. Is that a good, decent overview of that? I don't want to go too in depth.
I think that gets us started, right?
And we do this for each acute care facility. Some ASCs have done it, and then NHMG as a group. We calculate this risk.
Okay, so I will give you another 10 minutes, same breakout groups. And then again, if you finish early and want to come back to the main room, just to let me know that I get given you too much time, that's totally fine. Otherwise, I'll just bring everyone in 10. Paris. Yeah. All right, do we need more time on this one?
I think we got most of it except for some of the I guess references that it mentioned.
Number 4. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we are too.
What do you need, like another five or so minutes?
You could help us with the answer, Lindsay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe some clarification of what we need to have, what the expectation is for that.
Okay. I need to look at it because it's been a while since I have.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to pull it up too and look at it.
Yeah, it's asked for code references.
Oh, and it might just be like OSHA, like CFR,
Right.
um, NFPA 99 maybe.
So that question says identify at least 3 areas for improvement. So on that safety hazard analysis assessment, we have different injury types. Is that what you're talking about? Like for 3 areas that are on there and then maybe an associated
Right. Yep,
standard that goes along with it? Okay.
that's right. If there is one, if there's not, that's okay too. And Nancy, I don't know how much like eye wash or emergency shower issues, you found, but that could be another one. But yeah, ANSI, OSHA, maybe an FPA 99 for safety. But if there's not one, just that you can just identify that too, just so that when our team is reviewing your comments, they know that you just didn't leave off the code. You just didn't have one that was related to it.
Okay.
So how long do we want for that?
That last one I think we can probably do in 5
5
minutes.
minutes. Yeah.
All right, off you go. I'll see you in 5.
All right.
Big, big
Welcome back.
We back.
Awesome. Okay, did we get through it all?
Mostly. We got all the OSHA standard information located. I think they didn't get specific actions listed, but again, I can follow up with whoever afterward if they need more time. If it was just my group.
Okay. In that case, would everyone be open to a 10-minute break?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We'll take a 10-minute break, and when we get back, we're gonna soon get into another group activity. All right. Are we ready to jump back in? Excellent.
All right. So I know those first two sections may be things that you all aren't involved in all the time, that some of it, environmental health and safety kind of manages that part. But this next section, I'm hoping it'll be more familiar. So environment care data analysis is what we're going to do now. And we're going to use rounding data for environmental rounding to kind of look at that and see if we can identify some opportunities for improvement. So there's a section in the Novant Health rounding tool that's in ATG, or tools in ATG, that specifically focus more on the safety end of it. So there's kind of some general things like ceiling tiles being stained, or bathroom call cords installed correctly, equipment in good repair, chemical or biological exhaust hoods are labeled appropriately. So a lot of that has some cleanliness, general good repair of equipment and facilities are kind of captured in those rounding questions on that safety part of the tool. So those are the things that we're going to kind of focus on since this presentation is about safety management, kind of focus on those particular questions and look at some rounding data to determine if we can identify some opportunities for improvement. So all of you currently involved in environmental rounding at your facilities?
Yes.
Okay.
Justin, are you shaking your head now? No.
Yeah, I'm not.
So it's an exercise. Probably most of you will identify with some of these questions, because if you've been involved in it before, you'll be used to looking at some of these things as you do your rounding. So if not, Justin, it'll be a learning experience for you as far as what they look for when they do rounding.
So you've guessed it. You'll be back in your breakout groups. But before you do that, you're not going to get very far. You're not going to develop a SMART goals or start answering those questions. Really, it's just identifying opportunities based on the data that you see. This is homework assignment number 2, and you will see a handout that goes with that homework assignment number 2. It's a spreadsheet. It looks exactly like the one that you used this morning for your fire safety rounding data. This one's just been filtered to show the safety data. So in your breakout groups, you're just going to go through it like you did this morning, look for opportunities for improvement, but do not go as far as developing SMART goals yet. Okay?
So identify an area that we could improve, but don't work on the goal yet.
Yeah, pick maybe like 2 or 3 that really stand out to you, but if you start making a SMART goal, you're going too far. How long do we want to review the data and pick out a few trends? 10 minutes? Is that enough?
I'm not sure I have what my group is going to need. I have the one that says life safety EOC rounding.
Same one. At the top, you'll just go to the filter. I also sent it out probably while you were in class to everyone in the group. So it's located there as well. Also, Will sent it yesterday.
All right, let me go back in my emails and look then to.
I would love to send you another email though, because I'm sure you don't have enough.
Are we doing this safety? Which one are we doing?
Yeah, the safety.
Safety management homework 2?
It is, yep, homework number 2. And then it's a spreadsheet that says homework 2 and like rounding data.
Okay. I guess
Environmental care rounding data. Okay.
Laura, do you
Yes.
not have it?
I have it, but filtering it is hard for me. I tried earlier this morning to do some filtering and it wouldn't let me.
Rude.
I know. Even though I enabled editing. Um,
Okay, do you see the email that Will sent out yesterday?
right, it says, okay, I guess maybe I already am. Okay. We'll look at it. We got this.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll be fine.
I have loads of confidence in you. All right, so we're thinking is 10 minutes sufficient?
Think
Okay.
so.
All right, I'll give you a warning and bring everyone back in 10 minutes. I'm gonna open up the rooms now.
We didn't finish.
You didn't finish. Okay. How much more time would you like?
I don't know. Do you guys want more time? Since this is kind of like this morning, do you need more time to go through it, or are you good and being able to answer those questions?
Well, so we will go through, like, we'll continue to go back to homework number 2. So there are actually maybe 2 more breakout sessions
Oh, okay.
where they return to homework number 2 to continue working on it, like putting together the SMART goal.
I gotcha.
Yeah. Do you need more time then, or do you think that when you go back to it in the next breakout, you'll be okay?
You guys think we'll be okay?
I think so.
Okay. All right.
This is slide. Which number slide is this?
10.
10. So Laura, you've got,
I do.
yeah. I know we switched, so it might have been confusing. So that's why.
No, I got it. All right, so we're going to talk about the performance improvement process. And so here you're going to see the simplified flow chart for a PI. It goes through, you're developing your SMART goals, your milestones, completing an ESC or POC, monitoring your progress, and then reporting the results until up through your local environment care physical environment committee. Next slide. So the PDSA method is it involves a series of steps that involves your different phases. Your planning, your trying out phase, your observing, and your acting on the results. In healthcare, we use it to improve patient outcomes, and in that's for the clinical side. And in engineering, we use it to improve our processes and maybe lost my train of thought, to improve our processes, or maybe we need additional equipment. The plan phase is where you identify what needs to be changed or improved. Your do is where you execute your plan. Your study phase is where you're analyzing your data, you're collecting your data, you're analyzing it, and then your act phase is you're going to decide how to proceed based on your results. For instance, are you going to adopt a new process, adapt to the process that's already in place, just tweak it, make some changes, or are you going to abandon that process and look at new processes, or maybe search for best practices? Next slide. All right, a little PDSA refresher. I know we talked about PDSAs this morning as well, so this is a little redundant, but you can never hear too much about PDSA. This is what we do, how we make changes, and so we're gonna go through it again. Next slide. So I'm sorry, go back. I'm sorry, Lindsay. So a hospital plan engineering department wants to improve its surrounding process to reduce survey findings. All right, so that's what we're looking at. Go ahead. We're going to identify the problem. All right, so the team identifies that corridor clutter is a consistent issue in their facility. I'm sure that does not apply to any of you or any of your facilities, but it is a recurring problem. And what are they going to do? How are they going to try to figure out what the root cause is? In this particular scenario, we're going to use the fishbone diagram. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with that, but it is really a good process. I've used it before. Everybody writes down on a piece of paper, or a little post-it note, all the reasons they think could be causing the issue, and then it's grouped together, and they see where most of the issues are lying. This will make more sense in the next slide. But this is one of the ways that you help develop your plan and after you and identify your problem. So this is your fishbone, and they call it that because it looks like a fishbone. But what are the causes of our corridor clutter? We've narrowed it down to 4 things. Manpower, staff shortages, people are hurrying. They have too much to do and too little time to do it, so they're just ignoring the protocol of keeping things out of the corridor. It could be materials. It could be machines. Where are we storing our machines? Nobody has been assigned to the machine. Nobody takes care of it. They see the corridor as a dumping ground. Sometimes they just plug stuff in. I know at one time we were getting ready for survey and I was finding the little critters for vital signs in the corridors. And I walked into a break room and I said, you need to get all of the critters out of the corridor. You have equipment rooms to plug these in to charge them, or you could stick them in a patient room, whatever. They shouldn't be in the corridor. The comment made to me was, I can't wait for the surveyors to come and go so that we can go back to doing what we always do. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. No, wrong thing to say. That was not manpower or materials or machines. That was not following protocol and finding the easy way. Okay, so implementing the plan. This is our do phase. So the plan engineering team implements a new checklist. They thought maybe that would help if they standardized a new rounding checklist. They educate staff on how to use this checklist effectively. And they educated them on the why. It's easy to educate people and tell them not to do something, but to give them the why is it digs a little deeper. It helps to make that hit home. It's not a don't do it because I said so. It's a you shouldn't do it, and these are the reasons why. It's compromising our emergency egresses. If we had a fire, how would we move people through the corridors if there's all this clutter in the corridor? It's about safety. It's about fire safety. Giving them the why behind what we're asking them to do. And then documenting barriers that you see as to why the new process is not being followed. Step 3 is our study step. This is where we gather the data, we track the progress, compare it to data that we've gathered in the past, maybe look at other ATG reports and see, if are we improving with our new checklist compared to what we had in the past? Has the education helped? So when we're gathering the data, we're also tracking it and comparing it to older data. And then do we need to dig deeper? Is there more to it than what we originally thought? Could it be there's just no storage space? They've got, since the hospital was built, we've got larger lifts on our units. Maybe the equipment that the staff is using is there's more equipment available and less places to put it. So it could be it's a little bit more of an issue because we've grown over time.
Yeah. Or it could be that your units are hoarders too. Like they're prioritizing storage of certain things in their designated areas that don't need to be there, right?
True. They don't have the comfort level of this will be available when I need it, kind of thing. Yeah. And then step 4 is our act phase. The team's going to look at the data and analyze and the analysis from the previous step and determine if their plan has helped to decrease the issues. If so, then they'll standardize the new process and continue to track to make sure that it's hardwired, that it continues to be effective. If it is not helping to decrease the issues, then they need to go back to their first and second steps and maybe make some changes in what data they're gathering or what their plan is to make the situation better. And then they go through that whole process again. It's a continuous cycle. It just keeps going around and around until we get to the goal that we're seeking to find and making the difference that we're seeking to make.
All right, thank you, Laura. So this is where you will go back into your groups and develop SMART goals to address the issues that you found in the last breakout. So hopefully you were going through that data and looking for trends, seeing what was, most critical and emerging from that particular data set. Now you're going to pick one that you want to focus on, and you will use that for the PDSA. So in the handouts from earlier, you have the PDSA template. You will be filling that out, not yet, but your SMART goal will help you inform the PDSA when it is time to complete it. So how long would you like to develop your SMART goal?
I think it'll take longer than 10 for this one, but I'll defer to other groups and see what they think. I'm thinking at least 15.
Okay, that's a good negotiation. Do we have any objections to 15? All right, you got it. So I'll go ahead and open up the breakouts and set the timer for 15 minutes. I will give you a warning when there's just a few minutes left, so you know to wrap it up. If for whatever reason it takes you less than 15 minutes to create a SMART goal, feel free to come back in and I'll know just to keep on with the class. Will, are you able to resolve your audio issues? Are you good now?
Yeah, yeah, just what my speaker it does that randomly. I'm not sure, maybe going in and out of the breakout rooms. It could cause it to happen again, but I'll just do the same thing if it does.
All right, cool. All right, thanks, y'all.
You may, if you set up the
Oh,
rooms
yeah,
with me in here last time, you may have to put me back in.
I do. There we go. You are the overachievers.
Yep.
Good for you.
Hey, after this morning, I can talk like really, really fast right now. So
Yeah, you've had the advantage of that.
moving right along.
Nice.
We have successful audio.
Excellent. Okay, I take it you had enough time to have to create a SMART goal. Brilliant. Okay. Did either of your groups get as far as to finish that entire exercise? Meaning create milestones. And did you get through the PDSA? Yeah.
No, yeah, we weren't sure that we were supposed to go that far. So
Yeah. I just said SMART goals. That's totally fine. Um, and so I imagine like after this group exercise is done, we'll take another break and then we just have the roles and responsibilities and sort of that section at the end before we get to the QAR and then the policies demonstration. So we'll take a break after we finish homework number 2, including the PDSA and milestones like down in that table at the bottom, just using the one SMART goal that you came up with.
Okay, so we kind of did it a little different. We did the PDSA, but we need to look at actually developing our SMART goal. We developed a goal, but we didn't put it in SMART goal format.
Okay. Yeah, so really your only objective between you and a break is just to finish that homework number 2, the next part. If you haven't done the PDSA, this time is to do that. If you haven't done the SMART goal, this time is to do that. And then everyone just use your SMART goal and your PDSA initiative to fill out that table at the bottom that says what your milestones are and perhaps what a report out might look like to that committee. Do I have any follow-up questions on what to expect?
To complete the homework 2, including that table at the bottom, and
Yes.
then fill in the PDSA template.
That's right.
Okay.
How much time? Do I have a bid for time? More than 10 minutes? More than 15 minutes?
what do you guys think, Seth? You guys think
Yeah, I think
15 minutes is
15 would do it,
sufficient?
yeah. I think 15 would do it.
Okay, thanks, Brian.
I think 15's fine.
All right. I'll send you a 5-minute warning. Again, if you come back early, that just means you have more break time. All right. I'll see you in 15.
Hey, Lindsay.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if you saw me. I'm having audio issues in the breakout room. I'm gonna try to. I found where to join it again. I got it here, so I'm gonna try again, see if it lets me know. I just didn't know if you're still here and was like, what's he back for? But
No, no, no. You're good.
Seems quick.
Yeah. Mm. How are we doing? Good.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, we pretty much finished most of the exercise. We didn't get that milestone, that little chart at the bottom done, but we got the PDSA stuff done.
Same.
Okay. All right, good. Well, we are going to go on a quick break and then we'll just finish out the class. We've got about 15 to 20 slides to get through. So, if everyone can come back in 5 minutes, we'll wrap it up. Okay, welcome back. We will jump right into it and then finish out for the day.
All right. So we're going to go through some of the personal safety policies and procedures that apply to safety management. Again, not a comprehensive list of all of them, but some of them that may be pertainable to engineering departments that you may be aware of or just need to know about. So we're not going over every safety policy. There's more out there, but this is just a sampling. So one of them that pertains to engineering department, obviously it's very focused on engineering department, is the control of hazardous energy policy. So I know you all go through, or engineering goes through annual training on some of the OSHA required topics, and one of those is control of hazardous energy, or lockout tagout, which is typically referred to as. It's required by OSHA standard 29 CFR 1910.147. It's a specific OSHA standard about it. It's going to go into more detail about the different requirements, but basically the policy covers the policy that Novant has very much mirrors the OSHA standard, pulls most of it out of the OSHA standard verbiage, but requires that hazardous energy sources are controlled for accident release when people are working or maintaining components of those machines where they could be harmed or injured by that release of that hazardous energy. So it could be electricity, it could be mechanical, hydraulic, pneumatic, any type of stored energy like that is what this policy and what this program is designed to control and prevent. So key components of lockout tagout, go back, please, I'm sorry. Key components of lockout tagout are that each individual involved in the maintenance procedure needs to have a specific lock to be able to lock out that energy source. So it may be multiple people, could be multiple Novant Help team members, it could be multiple contractors or contractors and team members who are involved in the repair work. Each one of them has to be able to have a designated lock to be able to lock that out. So if you're working on a piece of machinery, you can't rely on a contractor's lock and having that locked out to protect you. So each person involved in the work has to have a place to be able to group lock out, or a separate isolated device to lock that equipment out to ensure their personal safety. And again, there's some types of equipment that might not be achievable on, and a tag process would need to be implemented. Our policy talks about it. The lockout tagout standard talks about a tag process to be able to be sufficient and meet the requirements if a lockout device is not commercially available for that type of machinery. All right, next. So the next policy is confined space entry. So this is one that we don't use very often. Occasionally, I mean, some air handler units may be considered confined spaces, depending on how they're arranged, or some sump pits may be, but overall, our facilities don't contain a whole lot of what we would call permit required confined spaces. We may have confined spaces, but not permit required. So again, this is an OSHA standard. OSHA standard 29 CFR 1910.146 covers this topic. Again, there's a delineation in the standard and in our policy between the definition of what a confined space is and what a permit required confined space is. So confined space is any area that's limited or restricted means of entry or exit, is large enough for someone to enter and perform assigned work, and it's not designed for continuous occupancy. All confined spaces aren't necessarily permit required confined spaces, because permit required confined spaces are confined spaces, but they also have an element of a hazardous or a hazard involved with them. So it could be a hazardous atmosphere. It could be the design of the confined space can cause someone to be trapped or asphyxiated because it has inwardly converging walls or a sloping floor space. It could also have like a grain bin. I know we don't have those, but it could have a contents that would cause a person to be engulfed by the contents of that confined space, or it tapers to a smaller cross section, which somebody could become lost, frantic, seriously injured in the process of trying to get out of that space. So again, confined spaces, we may have those, not all of them would be permit required confined spaces. There is a requirement that each of our locations, each of our hospital facilities has a inventory of their permit required confined spaces and implements processes. If they have to enter those permit required confined spaces, they do the permit process and all of the boxes are checked to ensure safe procedures are followed. All right. I think I'm done with mine. I think that leads us to Laura.
Yep. And we talked about this morning as well. So any above ceiling work, anyone working above our ceilings, whether it's contractors, hopefully DPS. I'm not sure if that's a process in all the facilities that they need to let you know as well. But anyone up there is supposed to have a permit and go through the permitting process in order to access above our ceilings. The permit is located now in ATG for most of the facilities. I think my facility, I'm not sure that we've gotten that far yet in the ATG process. Well, no, I take that back. We have, because I have actually had contractors tell me that they've got the permit online and they don't have to hang it from their ladder. My understanding is it still needs to be available to anybody that walks by to be able to see that, yes, they have gone through that process. But anyways, so this whole permitting process, it helps us in several ways. One, it ensures we know who is above our ceilings, so that if there's an issue, we can go back and look and know, that contractor knows the process. They were up above our ceiling and they didn't complete the process appropriately, whether they left penetrations or they used caulking material other than fire stop in a fire rated wall. This gives us the opportunity to be able to go back and verify who that might have been. It also ensures that our contractors know that they need to properly seal any penetrations in the smoke and firewalls, and that all cabling and wiring needs to be supported and secured other than on our sprinkler pipes. They need to make sure that either they're using hangers or zip ties or something, cable trays, but that they have not left anything laying on or attached to our sprinkler piping. The reason that we have this in place too is so that our plant engineers can go back and verify when the work is complete, and do a final inspection to verify that everything was done appropriately.
All right. So I'm pretty sure everybody here is familiar with asbestos. It's definitely one of those things that always sends off alarm bells when it's get identified or there's any questions or concerns related to it. The plant engineering service managers are basically functioning as the building owner capacity as it relates to asbestos management. There's 3 different standards that OSHA has on asbestos for different industries. Predominantly, we would expect the bulk of our team members to not exceed that permissible exposure limit on day-to-day operations, because of the fact that we're not necessarily performing demolition. In most cases, it's kind of basic repair. There are some requirements, though, in policy and in the standard that are important to know about as it comes to that building owner role around notifications. So in ATG, in the condition management tab, there's a section. If your facility has asbestos, there's a report there that was done by a third party that basically assessed the condition of all of the asbestos present in the facility, where it's located, whether it's friable or non-friable, and then the percent composition of asbestos, so that helps determine what steps need to be taken to ensure that anyone working near it is safe and not disturbing it. and any other steps that need to occur if there's any kind of major renovation that happens at the facility. So it's important to know the technicians and people that are working above ceiling need to be aware of the fact that asbestos is present in the facility, on what materials that it might be present on, and what to look for to determine whether or not it's been disturbed or has deteriorated in condition. That could be creating a hazardous condition while we're working up there and may require some response to encapsulate or remove it. And then other departments, particularly EVS, if there's VCT in the facility that is of a certain age, if we're going to be pulling that up or doing any kind of floor maintenance on it, it's important for them to be aware of the presence of asbestos. A lot of times that's kind of in the glue adhesive material that is laid down with the tile, but it's still an important thing for them to be aware of so that they're not going down below that surface level on preparing those floors for refinishing. And then anytime that we're obviously going through the pre-construction risk assessment process, that's going to be a component of determining whether or not asbestos is present in that area and that we're mitigating it as needed to prevent the potential for anyone having exposure. If there is asbestos at the facility, the standard requires they call it an O&M, or operations and maintenance plan. It's essentially outlining training that's required of the people inside the facility, external notifications to vendors, people that are, running low voltage, or other vendors that are up working above the ceiling, if that's where it's at, or in your mechanical spaces, if it's on pipe insulation. And then need to try to maintain accurate records. So if there's a major project or something that results in encapsulation or removal of that asbestos, it needs to be reflected in that plan, so that it's a current document to where people referencing it know what still exists today relative to what was found in that initial survey.
Fit testing for respirators. Many team members are required to wear tight-fitting respirators to complete their job duties. And this applies not only to our half-face and full-face respirators, but also to our N95s. During the test includes various steps that simulate possible workplace activities. This is done to ensure that the respirator is fitting properly. So prior to the test, you would pick out your respirator, try it on, make sure it fits, and then you would go through the testing process. And although it seems kind of odd, some of the various exercises that they make you do, it does simulate workplace activities: turning your head, turning your body, bending up and down, walking in place. And but it's to verify that that respirator is sealed to your face properly. If it doesn't seal properly, then it could potentially expose our team members to chemicals or infectious diseases. And OSHA requires that this test be completed annually. The OSHA requirement for annually, Russell, correct me if I'm wrong, is within 365 days of the last fit test.
Exactly.
Can anyone tell me, just blurt it out, what is one reason why we would need to check our respirators and make sure that they're fitted appropriately annually? I saw that, Russell.
You saw that. I was trying to give him a hint.
You grow a
Sean?
beard, or you grow your facial changes.
Yep, you may gain weight, lose weight.
Yeah. Right, exactly. If the structure of our face has changed in any way, our respirator from last year may not fit us appropriately this year, and seal the way it needs to protect us. So the annual fit test is those are good reasons why we should do that, and OSHA ensures that we do.
All right. So I'll lead off basically and just ask, does anybody have any, just throw out some ideas or any that you've experienced, but what would be some things that you would think people might submit complaints to OSHA about? And the answer is actually in front of you for a lot of these, but I'll just see what would you think the most common OSHA complaint that we field here at Novant Health is?
Slip, trip, and fall.
Air quality.
Yep, that's it. So, indoor air quality is by far, especially recently, the most prevalent complaint that we get. We have had some instances. So we had an instance where we had complaint about noise levels. There was actually a air curtain at the metal detector at one of our facilities that there was some concerns about the decibel levels of that. And similarly, we had some internal complaints about the noise levels of the dishwasher. But for the most part, the nature of the complaint is someone is not feeling well when they're at work. They're attributing it to the building, the fact that they believe that there's mold in the HVAC system, or usually, and not always, but usually the supply registers haven't necessarily been cleaned
Hey, how you doing?
as frequently as they maybe should be. But everything anyone usually sees anywhere that resembles mold is automatically assumed to be mold. So,
You take it for Wayne? No, Wayne's still over there.
Sean, you might just check and mute. Thanks. So we have just some examples here of poor ventilation, mold growth, dust, improper temperature, humidity levels that are things that show up in those IAQs. And then as someone mentioned, slip, strips, falls, poor maintained walkways, inadequate lighting. And then obviously there's programmed inspections. A lot of times those will show up for the boiler. That's not necessarily always a complaint, but there's some things that they have to check for that, given the high hazard nature of that piece of equipment. The next slide kind of talks a little bit about the process for responding to those complaints. So typically when we have an intake, a lot of times it'll come to us. We've kind of liaisoned with the area inspectors to be a point of contact for them to get that initial complaint to. Sometimes though, if it slips through the cracks or it's more of a peripheral off-site building, it could go to the plant engineering manager. It could go to more commonly and frequently, it could go to someone in administration. It sometimes just depends on the department that the complaint originated from. But there are steps, and typically plant engineering is going to be involved along with us and accreditation, regulatory, and other leaders in the facility of developing a response. And that will always involve an investigation. We need to understand, what the allegation is saying and whether or not it's true or not true, in order to be able to effectively respond to that and work on action steps that we're going to take as an organization to respond to that complaint. A lot of times, particularly in our most frequently seen complaint type with indoor air quality, we will work with plant engineering on utilizing a third-party air quality company to come in and take samples to assess whether or not the threshold of whatever it is that the concern is about, most commonly mold, are below what you would expect to see relative to the outside air. Obviously, mold is everywhere, so there's a methodology to that, and we always support. But communication,
They'll still complain. Even if you test it, they'll still complain.
right? The key thing we've learned from complaints though throughout the process, you can always submit what you've done, and to Seth's point, a lot of times it's going to be viewed as insufficient. Trying to be as transparent as possible from the very beginning, we found gives us the highest level of success at getting resolution. They may not be happy about it, but if you explain everything that we're doing to try to ensure their safety, a lot of times it'll at least allay those concerns, particularly ahead of time if we have an internal alert line complaint or escalation through leaders or to plant engineering as much as we can. try to communicate steps that we're taking along the way internally and externally. It'll hopefully mitigate the risk of that complaint coming in. But certainly after the fact, just maintaining that communication about what we've done, why we feel like the building is safe, and then follow up monitoring. So again, if it's related to something you can see, particularly if it's, moisture intrusion or whatever, that we're keeping a close eye on that space to make sure that it doesn't reanimate in the future and result in a follow-up complaint or repeat complaint.
Yeah,
Um,
and just to add on to what Will was talking about is the sometimes you get complaints like this because it's an avenue that they know that they can be a thorn in the side. So we always have to treat complaints and investigate them as if we don't have any other information. Because a lot of times it's submitted by disgruntled employees who just find this is another way that they can get under our skin. Even if we know that, we have to still take all the steps appropriate to make sure we did our due diligence to look into it and resolve the complaint allegation. So you may get involved in some, and you obviously know, I know who sent this in. I know why they sent this in, but we still have to do our work. That's just our responsibility as an organization responding to it.
yeah, thanks for that, Russell. And we always have to post the initial complaint and the response in a common area where the staff will frequent. And it doesn't have to be the entire facility, but most departments have some sort of break area that they utilize, and that would be the minimum expectation for 3 working days after the complaint response was submitted into OSHA and closed out. And then finally, injury data, we looked at some of that earlier today. A lot of that is our internal data. Workers' comp also is the source of where a lot of that data comes from, what gets submitted through IVOS. There's a process by which you have to record any injury that meets a certain criteria, and you have to maintain logs of that in a 300 log, and that has a lot of detail, person's name, specific description of what happened. There's kind of a summary page called the 300A that's required to be posted from February 1st to April 30th every year. And that is essentially the premise of that. OSHA encourages transparency, similar to what we were just talking about now. What that accomplishes, at least from their perspective, is us making it all of the team members that work here aware of any incidents that have occurred at the facility so that they can be aware of the hazards present in the workplace. Whether that's, as effective as it probably on paper sounds, probably not. I think, having some of our other protocols and processes in place to analyze and target reduction through the things that we've developed are probably preferred in OSHA's standpoint, but there's very little. OSHA's very performance based, and this is kind of the minimum expectation that they have for you to be able to post information about injuries that are happening at the workplace. And then again, that's something that we utilized every year. It's not in the slide deck, but we utilized every year to try to submit for awards for the acute care facilities. And I will say Novant Health traditionally has a very strong track record of qualification for those awards. A lot of that because of the work you all do every day to try to keep the building in good condition and free from hazards.
So moving forward and looking at a few of our other safety policies and procedures, it's the mission of Novant Health to improve the health of our communities, one person at a time. And in part of doing so, we have adopted and are enforcing a tobacco-free policy. And that policy not only prohibits smoking, but the use of tobacco products as a whole. The policy is communicated to everyone who enters our campus, whether it's team members or visitors or our patients. And we do that in various ways. I know that part of new employee orientation, communicates this. We have flyers and pamphlets in the patient rooms. We have this policy in place. We promote cessation when we find a patient who is a smoker or has a nicotine dependence. We try very hard to get them to agree to nicotine patches while they are a patient within our facility, and offer help in the actual quitting of smoking. It's definitely something that we feel strongly about at Novant Health. We're all responsible for this, for enforcing smoking. I know that it's not easy. We have people who come to our campus who are stressed, they're upset, they're going through a rough time. They've got somebody here that's sick. So they'll go out to the parking lot and smoke. That is not something that we want. It is hard to enforce that part of it. One of the reasons, besides wanting a healthy community, that we really discourage smoking on the premises is just the overall fire hazard of it. I don't know what the landscaping at your facilities is like, but I know here at New Hanover, we have a lot of mulch that are in the islands of our parking lots. And I can't tell you how many mulch fires we have in the summer when it's hot and we haven't had a lot of rain. And mulch fires, if you're not familiar with them, I can tell you that they go deep. You can think that it's out and it's actually 6 inches down that's still smoldering and can ignite again without notice. So enforcing it outside is difficult, and sometimes you need a little help, whether that's asking protective services to lend you a hand with that. Inside, it's a little easier. People, especially with our patients, back in the day, they used to smoke in patient rooms. Now we know that that's not a good idea from a fire safety standpoint. Bed sheets catch fire. Smoke can set off our alarms, our smoke detectors. So asking our patients to not smoke is not a bad thing because it's protecting them as well as ourselves. If team members are found using cigarettes or cigars, pipes, whatever, smoking material, or electronic devices on campus, they may very well face disciplinary action. So it's something that we as an organization do take very seriously.
All right. The next policy is the HR policy on performance improvement. So different from the performance improvement that we've been talking about earlier with PDSA, this is really about performance improvement in team members, either behavior or job performance. So not a real positive performance improvement compared to what we were talking about earlier. But any violation of Novant Health policies like the tobacco-free environment or any other policy. So if you read through this policy in detail, it talks about expectations of all team members. And like the safety management plan that Will talked about earlier, it details responsibilities of everyone within an organization. And part of those responsibilities are following safety rules and regulations, wearing appropriate safety PPE when required. So that is all covered underneath this performance improvement. If you look through it further in detail, if you're looking at Document Manager, it talks about all team members are expected to follow safety and fire regulations and rules. So again, violation of those, intentional violation or repeat, disregard for those rules and policies and procedures is subject to coaching, counseling, up to termination through the performance improvement policy process. So again, just be aware of that. Team members a lot of times don't think that maybe that's included in the performance improvement policy or the coaching, counseling process, but safety rules and regulations are important. They're designed for protect everyone in the facility, not just the person who is supposed to follow them, but other occupants, visitors, patients, everyone. So safety is everyone's job, and an expectation is they all follow the rules.
All right, so we're coming down to the finish line here. And I'm sure you all are sad, but we are going to talk a little bit about elevators. And I know that everybody has them, and they're definitely nice to have, and when they're working well, but sometimes they don't. And when they don't, it can result in some scary situations. And so we have a policy on that. And I'm sure that, well, has anybody here actually had anybody stuck or injured in an elevator at their facility?
Plenty stuck, no injuries.
Okay. Yeah. So I think it's fairly common to have some entrapments, but good that there's not been any. I know at least of one situation where we had some team members, fortunately no patients on an elevator, that had some concerns about the forcefulness of how it was stopping, and then made some claims about it dropping several floors quickly. So there's some steps that you have to do if there's an injury. Obviously, you have to report that through various different means. But also, even if there's an entrapment, you have to, each facility in this policy has its own separate protocol. I think there's, some slight nuance to the way in which we respond to emergency situations at each facility. So, every one of them has a specific step-by-step protocol to undertake that of each person's responsibility, and it's very much a collaborative effort between plant engineering, public safety, and the house supervisor to make sure that we're able to respond quickly to get the proper vendors on site that we need to get on site in order to get the elevator open, particularly in an entrapment situation. And then assess really whether or not it's safe to remove the occupants from the elevator. And then after the fact, document what occurred, and then depending on the severity of the injury, especially if it's to a patient, then notifying risk management. And so some of the steps there that are fairly common in this facility response are outlined on the slide, about notifying available individuals close by to get in touch with the switchboard. And then typically you're going to want to get your elevator vendor on site if they're not. I know some of the bigger facilities kind of have some resident Otis guys that are probably there 24/7, seemingly testing elevators due to the number of them that are there. But it's critical to have them there to be able to make sure that we're taking safe steps to get the elevator doors open and recall it to the floor if we can, so that the occupants can be safely evacuated. So, pop quiz. Part of that entrapment requires submission of what notification document? How do we notify, or how do we track anytime that there's an elevator incident at Novant Health?
It used to be like an ERL or some kind of incident like that, right?
Yep. Yep. So ERL is the Novant Health system that we use to do a variety of things. A lot of it is around patient safety, but this is, again, whether it's patient safety related or not, the expectation is that this gets completed for tracking and follow-up purposes. But for quality assessment reporting, it's essentially the way that we monitor events that occur in our facilities. And there's varying levels of harm that can occur from these events. Some of them are near miss, some of them are precursor, some of them are low levels of harm, and some are higher levels of harm. And so if you have an ERL that is identified as something in your department that you have oversight of, most commonly it's going to be in that entrapment arena. There's going to be a manager responsibility for follow-up, typically within 7 days of the incident occurring. And then you have to go into that event notification and change the status to complete if you're able to address whatever the issue was that was causing the harm or the entrapment. Or if it's still in progress, you would change that and then follow up once you're done to close it out as complete. And so what we're going to do is go through a exercise now. So we have, I believe, in that in the handout we had maybe not, maybe that was just in my imagination, but I think we have a scenario. So you have a patient and team members that are trapped in the elevator, and you go through the process of getting them out. And does anybody know how to get to ERL in our intranet, where it's located? So it is.
It's team member resources, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. So on the homepage, kind of right there and there's probably multiple places, but at least just for awareness, there's right on the right, there's a I need to, and there's an ERL link. So you can click on that and it will open up. And I had this logged in, but I guess I timed out. So bear with me for 1 second. And okay. All right. Well, this is going swimmingly.
You might be typing too fast. I usually do that. You say slow way down.
I also recognize that I skipped the roles and responsibilities, so I've moved that now after Sentinel events because it is important that we address the liabilities and negligence section.
Okay. So yeah, we'll go through this fairly quickly here, and we don't have to go through and answer every field. I've already notified Risk that we were doing a test drive here. So you all saw I clicked on facilities, and then that gives you a bunch of options. And so in the specific event type, you would go to elevator malfunction, and we're going to say there was a patient in there. And the severity level was, what do y'all think? Did anybody get hurt? We're going to say because we just had one recently that nobody was hurt, we're going to call it an E. And or I'm sorry, that one would require reporting. So we had no harm reached a person. No monitoring required. We'll just do that. All right. So there was not a RN or LPN. There was no injury. And yes, we determined that the equipment malfunction, and I'm going to just put test here, but it's important in this section. You would want to just basically outline specifically, on this date, this time, this person was notified about the elevator. They notified this person. The fire department was called. Otis was called. They showed up. Just basically as much as you can. You want to include a narrative about what happened. And then you're going to go down here and put the date as today and whatever day you're doing it and the time. And then it's going to be a Novant Health facility. And all the stars are required fields, so you have to be sure that those get answered. And then we're going to say it happened at Ballantyne. This was who got trapped?
Radiologist.
All right. We're going to say radiology administration. Okay. And then there's additional fields down here that you can use to complete the ERL so that it is comprehensive. And then you would go and click submit. All right. There's additional. Okay, so this is if because there was a patient involved, you have to include some additional information into um that field. So we can change it to visitor. Let's see if it'll let me submit it. And it's not. So for the sake of time, the basic idea here was to show you how to get to there, show you where it was located in ERL, go through the process of submitting the ERL, and then if you are assigned as an escalation in an ERL, something that happened in your department that you're responsible for investigating, you would get an email that has a link at the top of it that you would select and then go in and evaluate several different questions to develop a resolution. All right. I'll stop then and turn it back over.
All right. So we're going to go over Sentinel events real quick. Some of you may or may not have been involved in Sentinel events reporting before. Usually, there's follow-up actions that you may have been included in. But a Sentinel event definition of is a serious or unexpected occurrence in a healthcare setting results in or poses significant risk or severe harm, death to a patient, team member, or visitor. So they're kind of that upper echelon of injuries that we do not want to happen within our organization. So we use the term to again make it apparent that these are issues that need to be immediately investigated, need to be prioritized for follow-up just to ensure that they do not recur. All right, so some examples of Sentinel events. Again, this is not all inclusive. There's a good document on Document Manager. If you're interested in looking for it, search Sentinel events. There's a Joint Commission document on there that goes through some of the same information if you want to look at that further. But some examples of Sentinel events are patient suicide while under our care, wrong site surgeries, medication errors, falls resulting in severe injury or death. What's another one that's not on this list that is probably the one that you are most likely to get involved in as an engineering team member? Can you think of one?
Maybe like a fall or electrical shock or something like that.
What is maybe, yeah, that one possibly. What is something that you dealt with a lot, the topic you talked about this morning? Life safety, which deals with protection of buildings and occupants from what?
Fire.
Fire and smoke. Yeah. So situations where we have fire smoke events, they're also considered Sentinel events, and we have to treat them as such. So that is one of the items that I have been involved in from my position in the CSAs, the comprehensive system analysis that we were required to do after all Sentinel events, has usually been from fire smoke events. Usually it's surgical fires, a hot bovie touched a linen, smoked, or a lamp, surgical lamp touched something, smoked. So all of those situations, especially in surgical environments, have to be followed up with a CSA and treated as a Sentinel event alert. So just be aware of that. Again, there's a follow-up process that's usually led by a patient safety sub-team or somebody within the patient safety area to lead that CSA process, but we may be asked, as life safety and environment of care, physical environment experts to contribute to that discussion and be involved in the process that they go through to ensure it does not reoccur. All right. We'll roll right into safety roles and responsibilities. I think they're supposed to be earlier, but we'll go ahead and get it now. Safety management plan talks a lot about some of this stuff. So this is a little more detail from that initial discussion about the safety management plan. So safety officer delegation of authority letter is something that we use in our Novant Legacy facilities use to document individuals at the facility level who have been authorized by leadership at the facility to intervene when there's conditions in the physical environment that could cause danger to team members or to property. So a safety officer can be many different people. And we always advocate that everybody within our facilities, all team members are safety officers to some degree because they all have a responsibility to report safety deficiencies or anything that they see that's incorrect so that it can be addressed. But we do have to try to nail down some people who are kind of designated that authority. It's usually at our facilities is somebody within engineering or somebody also with public safety and also environmental health and safety will oftentimes be listed on the delegation of authority to be able to assist as well. So it depends on the facility. And again, these positions are designated by a leader within that facility. The one that you have there is actually in revision right now because Kirsten Royster has taken a new position. So there'll be a new delegating official for that facility. But yeah, we're always revising this as we have turnover of team members. It's something that's usually also updated on an annual basis. So just be aware of that. It's something that should be examined by the environmental care leader or somebody over engineering at that facility on an annual basis to determine if it's needs to be revised. So we assist with that process, making sure they all get revised and working with engineering to make sure that they stay current. This is a document that may or may not be asked for during survey. There was a period of time where a joint commission was big on asking for it, but not so much lately. And also safety officers can also be designated through the process of job descriptions, which I know that's how New Hanover tends to document their safety. They don't use this safety officer delegation of authority. It's really delegated through their job description. And just I'm glad we've gone to this process of the safety officer delegation of authority letter because to tell you a funny story, back when we weren't as big as we are now. We had a couple of facilities, but we were still separate markets. We used to have the little badge buddy little insert things, if you recall that. I remember the little badge thing supposed to have all the information that you needed to know, at a quick glance. It had race on there and all that kind of stuff. But it listed the safety officer for Greater Charlotte market. Guess who it was? Russell Bagley. So I'm glad we've gone to multiple positions to kind of cover that because that's kind of hard for one person to be, Shazam and get to each location at a moment's notice. So really, it should have multiple people listed. It should be a collaborative effort between engineering, public safety, and environmental health and safety to make sure that we've got people who are, if somebody's off, somebody else is able to kind of fill in that role and be able to provide guidance. So just be aware of that document. You may, as a member of engineering, be listed as a safety officer at some point in time on one of facility documents. All right, next is roles and responsibilities. I'll go through these real quick. Team members, everyone's expected to follow safety procedures, policies, wear protective equipment as assigned, and follow all safety rules. Leadership is required to support the safety effort, provide the resources, make sure that environmental care committees are established or physical environment committees are established, make sure they're meet and led, have proper leadership within those teams, and then also delegate authority through the just covered safety officer delegation process. Department leaders, again, they're the enforcers. They kind of make sure that on their units that the accountability for safety continues. So you monitor it. You can't just say, here, wear your PPE and walk away. You have to make sure you're monitoring, making sure people are wearing their PPE, making sure they're going through and following those proper protocols. Just having access to equipment without leadership enforcing the rules is negligence on the part of the organization. So we have to enforce those rules. We can't say, well, we told them about it or we made it accessible. We have to ensure by monitoring and follow-up and enforcement that those rules are followed, or else we're not doing our due diligence as an organization and can be culpable, through investigations from OSHA or other regulatory agencies. Next slide is employee occupational health. Again, they are there to help see injured team members, provide guidance on anything that a team member feels is work-related or may have been exposed to at work, be it biological, radiological, chemical, whatever it may be. Plant engineering services, again, your department plays a critical role in ensuring we have safe maintenance of our facilities. Things are kept in good working order. We have a safe environment for people to work in and for people to visit. Environmental services, again, helps with the cleaning of that space, or all of our spaces, our facilities, making sure that they're clean, safe, hygienic, for occupants. And facilities planning and construction ensures that our facilities are designed for safety. So safety by design, making sure we try to, reduce hazards through the design process versus having to mitigate them on the back end or manage them once the facility is built. And then protect the services, public safety, company police provide real-time support because they're usually here around the clock. So they're able to help start investigations or do an initial investigation of a situation that may have happened, a fall or things like that may have occurred on our premises. So it's not just workplace violence accidents or incidents that they may get involved in. It may be other types of injuries as well, that they may be the first responder to that location and to that incident. And then environmental health and safety services and related committees that we're involved in. We help kind of oversee the programs, make sure we have policies, programs in place, be a resource to all of the facility personnel, as subject matter experts on injury reduction, analyzing injury data. We provide that injury data that we talked about earlier with the injury reports to each facility on a quarterly basis. So again, we're a partner with you all and with the facilities in helping ensure that our facilities are free of hazards as possible. So.
All right. So everybody loves talking about legal implications of things. And so what I would say about this is, OSHA, from a safety perspective, has somewhat different language than what you're seeing here. And so, obviously, injuries happen in the workplace. We get the data every month. We see things that happen. The extent of the injury factors into legal implications, whether or not you should have known about the hazard and adequately prepared the employee for the hazards present in the workplace, provided them with all the PPE that they must need, all factors into what the implications are. And so there is there's typically, as an employer, you're going to bear the brunt of that responsibility in most cases. The extent to which that there's financial penalty associated with harm that is done to an employee, a lot of times really does come down to whether or not it's determined that the people in charge of that employee were basically being negligent or not. Is it something that we should have known was a hazard, that we observed someone doing some sort of incredibly unsafe behavior, or we're encouraging them to do some sort of unsafe behavior? Some examples that we come across a lot are around lockout, tagout, and doing work on live energy, and around fall protection is another particular high risk category. What would you all think is the number one ranking most cited OSHA violation? So this is something that comes with monetary penalty. And this was for the year of 2023. All right. We got 4:11 p.m. levels of response. So I'll go ahead and tell you it's fall protection. And I think that as you all could probably assume, you're going to end up having some significant harm, pretty commonly death, from falls from height and even from less than 6 feet. You can easily still result in death. And so that's one that they take very seriously, and results in a lot of fines, and at high levels, where you clearly knew that there were things that you could work on from height and didn't have the proper safety protocols, fall protection, anchor points, etc. The next slide is going to give you just one kind of scenario that kind of talks about what negligence could look like. Again, we all have shops in some capacity at our hospitals. But in this scenario, the facility manager knew or knowingly allowed the team member to use the table saw there, with the guard missing. So obviously, we all are operating under the assumption that facility manager knew that there were OSHA regulations in place that required it. That particular saw had hurt someone in the past. And that the team members that report to them have constantly complained about the fact that, hey, somebody's going to get hurt if we keep using this saw without the guard on it. So if someone were to be injured or killed after the fact, after that all those things have happened previously, that the manager knew about the guard and there's previous incidents in the past, the failure to act would constitute negligence. And so that's when OSHA comes in and says, okay, these people knew about the requirement. The manager was basically turning a blind eye to the fact that the saw wasn't safe, and in fact went so far as to just ignore concerns from the team members about the potential risk. This would result in a significant monetary penalty. Some of those penalties can result in the, six figures, 160,000, I think is the cap on one that would be considered willful violations, depending on the extent at which the person was harmed, and then repeat violations. So obviously, if you have one that occurs the first time and maybe you didn't know, hey, Johnny had taken the guard off, I didn't know it. I've told these guys 100 times in the shop meetings that this guard has to be on there. That's going to be viewed a little bit differently than if the investigation uncovers the fact that you knew about the guard missing and didn't do anything about it. And then finally, we're going to go, I know we're way over, but I'm going to just briefly go through and show you all of the policies and everything that we had talked about are all kind of aggregated. You have the ability to kind of filter through and look at policies of different disciplines, and sort it by what that discipline is. And so if you go to Novant Health corporate system-wide policies, and by clicking on this little site header here,
We don't see your screen.
oh, I'm
do
so
we?
sorry. You're right. Let me back up. Hold, please. Sorry about that. Now I'm on 4:14 time. All right. So we went back here. We're on the main screen. We're in policy tech.
It's taking it a second to pull up. We just see a black screen right now.
There we go.
Okay. Let me turn my camera off because I'm getting the low system resources warning. I think my laptop is older than I am. Okay. So I'll back up one more time. So
It's got those 415 blues too.
yeah, it's screaming at me. So we're in policy, in document manager, we're in the document section, the browse section. So we change our site to NH corporate system wide. Actually I'm on the wrong thing. All right. So here we go. NH corporate system wide. And then it pulls up, policy procedure by facility, and then you can go down to environment of care, and then safety, occupational safety, and then you have the list of 27 documents that have SA in them. Some of the policies cross over a little bit into hazardous materials. So it could go either way, in terms of whether it would be considered safety or HAZCOM or hazmat, excuse me. And our department kind of overlaps on both. But if you're looking for, hey, I wonder if there's a policy on X, or I remember those guys talking about confined space, and I'm going to go try to find that policy. That's a quick way to where you can filter that down and look at all of the various different policies that have safety in the title. All right. Sorry about the technical difficulties.
All right, thank you, Will, and thank you, Russell, for being available for class today. I know that Laura had to leave. I know it's late. We've talked about that. Everyone's tired. I did send out a survey for this class as well. I hope it gave you a jump start on your homework. So it's just pretty quick for you. We will meet in 2 weeks. We'll go over medical equipment management and utilities management. So if you aren't available for those classes, I'll just let you know that format will be very similar unless you provide me with feedback that says that we need to radically change our approach, and we will discuss that as a group. But otherwise, I'll see you in 2 weeks, similar format. And I hope everyone stays well and healthy between now and then. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.